Yeah, probably.
I mean, at this point, but intro number 3. Guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Matty Chymbor. Okay, take 3. Guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Matty Chymbor podcast. Things are going good. This is our first take. We did not have to struggle with anything. Everything's going well. We have our drinks.
Yep.
Iced coffee with almond milk. I didn't know you were that type of guy. I mean, it's hearing your friends' Starbucks orders kind of makes you judge them briefly.
I didn't even order this. You said, do you want coffee? And I was like, yeah, I'll take some with almond milk if you have it, which already was kind of a questionable text back. And then I was going to be like, well, are you at Starbucks? I didn't even want to ask that. I'm like so scared to ask questions. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll have whatever you have.
I mean, it's good. I appreciate it. When somebody's being considerate for you, you get one question and then you just hope they get it.
Yeah, that's how I...
One question, one answer. What? Do you get it? If you do, good. If you gave the wrong information, that's your problem.
Exactly. I think that's totally the way to do it.
And I think with this, we ran into a happy accident. I thought Latif, we've hiked a bunch. I mean, we can get into our extracurricular activities, our bromance. But happy accident. I thought you were an iced coffee guy.
No, I like hot coffee at all times, even in the sun.
Really?
Hot Americano with almond milk. That's my drink.
That's exactly you. You're a hot Americano.
It sounds kind of ethnic, but
all
not
year exactly. It's
ambiguously ethnic.
It's a proud American, but also he could be Canadian.
Is Canadian.
Is Canadian. He's definitely Canadian.
Been watching hockey.
Oh,
hockey's the best sport to watch on TV.
See, I would flip-flop that. I would say it's pretty boring to watch on TV, but live games are probably one of the best sports to watch.
But it's like high action. They're scoring. They're always moving.
I mean, I appreciate that. I think
football is like painful.
I mean, I don't know what your background is in sports. I played sports growing up. I played football, baseball, did indoor track for some reason. I got to say, like, I'm not a sports guy to watch it. I don't think there's... No. I can watch baseball more so because I think I cared the most about that, but even that I can't watch.
I think if you're into the arts, it's hard to watch sports.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I find myself whispering jocks under my breath.
That's when I see like some people, I see like Josh Edelman constantly tweeting about sports. I'm like, how are you into sports?
I mean, my theory, and I've said this to the friends who I'm going to throw under the bus right now, if you like sports that much now, you weren't Michael Lenoci. You were not good growing up. He's not bad. I played men's league softball with him, but he's not good, which makes sense for this insane desire for the game.
It's also something to do.
Right.
It's like a passion. It's a I don't know what it is. I've never been that into...
It's the fantasy vibe. I mean, they're living in a dream world, and they think it's filling a void that they lacked growing up, where now they think they have a hand in the game. And I'm just like, that's why when I meet people, my old roommate, he was so like anti-baseball. He would shit on it. And I'm like, if you were a genuine athlete growing up, you would never trash another sport. Although I just said hockey's boring, but I did say, I think across the board, being an athlete is super hard. So when I hear another quote unquote athlete shitting on a sport, I go, I don't think you were that good, because if you were good, you wouldn't trash a sport for being boring or whatever.
Have you ever gotten emotional, like after a game? Like you watching something on TV?
Oh, watched it.
Like the Hartford Whalers or whatever you care about? From Connecticut? I mean, Connecticut. I saw you post about the NCAA.
I was thrilled about that.
Yeah.
I think the younger the age, the more into it I get, which sounds real weird to say. But I mean, pro sports, I'm like, yeah, I like the Yankees. I like the Cowboys, very 90s driven fan.
I love the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, but I do, if I'm watching them, I will get into the game in that moment. And I will find myself annoyed, but it goes away the second I change the channel.
Okay.
It doesn't carry into my day for like most people.
Sometimes like if the Canadian hockey team like makes it to the Olympics, it's a little emotional.
I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, that's your guys.
We're such a small country. Or when they sing "Oh Canada" at the beginning of the hockey game.
Canada's gigantic, isn't it?
It's huge landmass wise, but like population, it's California.
That's pretty interesting. You're like, I mean, I feel like lately Canadians. I just did a show in Reno with Julia Ladowitz, Matt O'Brien's wife.
Is that, you don't say the H? It's not Halakowitz? Julia.
I don't even know if it starts with an L, but her name's
HL?
Julia.
Yeah.
And she's Matt's wife. That's all I can.
Matt's wife, yeah.
But they're Canadian.
They're Canadian, yeah.
Who else is Canadian?
Last night on the show was it was an accidentally Canadian lineup, which was
Was it all?
Deborah DiGiovanni,
Very Canadian.
me, Canadian.
Super Canadian.
Who else was Canadian? Oh, Graham K.
Right.
and Aisha Alpha.
I don't know.
And then
any of them.
Caleb Synan, who's basically
He
Canadian.
looks Canadian. He
Yeah.
looks like a more white version of you.
Yeah, we could be
You
on.
have similar outfits.
I wanted to do a spectrum of like people who all look like each other and like a wheel, and you kind of go to the left and it gets to
It looks
here.
like you're slowly evolving.
Yeah, and you can slowly evolve into everyone we know.
I mean, this is going to be Inside Baseball, but we've talked about the You're the Same comic show.
Oh yeah, doing a show with two comics.
Multiple, because we know multiple that look, but yes, putting...
But like pairing comics, and we don't kind of tell them they look alike, and then you just do a show with them.
What people, if you're curious what we're talking about, in the world of comedy, whether they're similar styles or similar visually, it's a lot to take in, and it's very crazy how close. Let's use the looks. Like there's multiple comics that look so much alike. It's very bizarre, and we want to do a show where we put them all on it, pretend like accidentally, and then
Yeah, I mean everyone thinks I look like Fahim. But
Yeah.
actually, if you put us next to each other, like in the same room,
I mean, I don't
we
see
don't
it.
look alike. But I think we're also like, it's more of like a build. We're like thin, ethnically kind of
right.
ambiguous, and we're kind of have like a chill, nice vibe.
Yeah.
I think it's that more than anything.
I don't see. I mean, you still look Italian to me. I don't even see the
North
Moroccan. You're Moroccan, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm half, so that's probably why.
I watched 90 Day Fiance, and one of the Moroccan guys, was dating a very large white woman, and I just always think about that when I remember you're Moroccan. You ever watch 90 Day Fiance?
No.
It's basically
This is a guy in a new relationship watching these shows.
I mean, this was old me.
Old you.
This is
Old relation.
90 Day Fiance is basically, in a nutshell, an American dating a foreign person, and one of the people wants to go to the other country. So
And it was Morocco?
It just so happened that he was a young Moroccan stud with just a freaking odd, very middle America white woman.
Did it work out?
I don't think so.
Damn.
I mean, it might have. I kind of just, I don't.
You kind of faded off.
I don't follow shows through until you. I was single watching it. Single watching versus relationship watching. I have a girlfriend now, Mandy. When you have a girlfriend or a wife, maybe you can attest. You finish shows. I just finished Farmer Meets a Wife or Farmer Wants a Wife. It's just.
I think she's incepting you with wife stuff.
I mean, when you're in a relationship, you need TV. You need. You need.
Well, we did like White Lotus. Did you do that?
Dude, that show could not have pissed me off more.
Well, I loved it.
Dude, I hated the lack of information each episode, which you build anger, and I watched it out of stubbornness to be like, you tricked me. I'm just going to go until I know, like the last episode where it's all going to come together. I mean, everything came together the last episode. There was a few like breadcrumbs of information, but I think it was a lot of filler with beautiful scenic shots and no information, and then it was just people annoyed and want to watch till the end.
And like a lot of good comic relief, I thought, especially in the first season.
The grandpa was funny. I thought the grandpa.
Yeah, the grandpa was funny in season 2. The Armand character was good.
Which one was Armand?
He was just a guy who's like pissed off at the entitled people coming and asking him for stuff, and then he eventually does drugs and like ruins his life.
Was this first season? Or
Yeah.
second? Oh, I watched second season. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, I didn't watch.
Watch the first season, then you can hate on it.
Yeah, I'll watch the third season because I have a feeling. But the last episode was good. But
Tell me about your podcast, like, is it changing formats?
dude,
'Cause you took a hiatus for a bit.
So Latif knows all my creative ventures. I've bothered him on hikes plenty of times with all the things I think I'm gonna do and or try to do. But forever, as you guys know, the podcast was just me talking, which I'm still gonna do. I just
Thank
need,
God.
Yeah, I mean, I need a vomit, and I can't take it out on a poor guest to watch me just go crazy. But long story short, I like to do a little backstory. I think with having my peers on now, I don't need to do as much research. Although I have thought of some questions or topics to talk about. But I mean, it's just us shooting the shit. I think people like watching. Said this last episode. I think people like watching interactions these days, not as much as they like to watch the individual just spew shit. Although when I'm being weird, I think people enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you get to kind of be more of a fly on the wall when it's two people. It's like you're kind of hanging out, not saying anything when it's two people. When it's one person, it's a little challenging. I've never listened to a one-person podcast.
They're
Maybe
ju-
a couple episodes of the Bill Burr one, but not much.
And even with Bill Burr, who I'm a huge fan of, it just gets like boring. And I feel like even with me, I'm like, people can take me ranting for what, 5 minutes, and even I can take myself ranting for 15.
It's a good exercise. I've done a few solo eps on the Patreon of my It's Show Business Pod, and you're like, oh wow, I can actually talk for a good chunk of time.
Latif's a podcaster. It's Show Business Podcast. I was on twice.
You were the first guest.
First guest, and I was on another time. I mean, I was thinking about it in the shower today. You have a pretty star-studded cast of guests on that.
Yeah, we had Taylor Tomlinson, Mark Normand. Who else was big?
Shang.
Shang. Oh yeah, Shang. Jamie Kennedy.
I mean, you had the list.
Raheem Anwar.
Did you feel like, and this is what I'm actually every like a podcast or whatever I do, my solo podcast was for me to get good at ranting and thinking of the next topic in my brain. This one, I'm actually trying to get better at just social interactions and talking to people and letting other people talk and listening. Ironically, I'm talking this whole time, but but it's like, did you feel like you grew as like a person talking to people, or like what did you learn? I mean, from doing the first one till, I mean, I don't know what episode, how many you did, but
well, I think you learn like just being good at conversation and interviewing. You learn vocal dynamics, not to be just super monotone, kind of like alternate your voice, because you end up editing your own voice for a lot of it, and you're like, ugh. You learn editing, like camera angles, like lighting. It's kind of like a crash course in media production, because you're basically doing like a talk show, on your own and learning it all. Booking, how to book guests. You kind of, it's a great experience, if nothing else.
I mean, that's great. That's what I told myself. I mean, it's very frustrating because I'm impatient, but
now I've actually moved on to a buddy podcast with me and my friend.
Oh, that's right.
Tan.
I'm sorry.
So we actually do a new pod called Techno Hollywood. So he's a big techno DJ in Berlin. I don't care about techno music, but he's getting me into it. And he's on tour. Like, I do comedy. We kind of just connect with our different stories.
So is it a Zoom one, or are you guys together in the same room?
He's in LA a lot. So we did like the first 6 or 7 in person.
Right.
And now we do them over Riverside, which actually works great. And
I saw the ad for that.
Yeah, Riverside, whatever, sponsor us.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's actually nice to not book guests. So, and I'm really enjoying it. We had one guest on, Joplin, who's a techno artist, DJ, and we're gonna have another German comedian on. We thought about maybe only having German guests on, because it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it's doing great, and we have a little segment called German English where he breaks down like a funny German phrase in English, and those are doing really well. So
let me step back, and I'm gonna call myself out. You said you kind of like not having guests.
I like not
two of
having guests. We have guests once in a while, but we're not reliant on booking a guest, so I don't have to scramble to book a guest. I did feel at a certain point with It's Show Business, which is in a little bit of a hiatus right now. I might bring it back, I might not. But it was just a lot of pressure to get the guest. And then you get a bigger guest. You're like, oh, that one does even better. Then you're like, try to get a bigger guest. And then you feel weird when you do a lesser known guest you actually want to talk to, but the numbers aren't as good. And so it ends up, you're kind of like chasing fame in a way.
I mean, I get it, because for example, today, going back to your first, I mean, I spent all freaking morning editing clips, this, that, and the other, and then you post it, and it doesn't do well. So then you're annoyed. You learn all this stuff. You take it. It's like so much legwork behind the scenes, and you do it. I've yet to. I mean, I'm trying to just enjoy, like, in talking to friends on it at first, being fun. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like you get these guests on. I want to make sure I like the people, and I'd rather almost stick to that for the time being. I mean, I'm hoping to get just people to want to watch it for whatever reasons, but I mean, eventually you have to get the guests.
Yeah, tune in for you, and then a guest will give you a nice bump, and maybe discover, because it is about building the Matty brand at the end of the day.
Have you ever had a big guest that you wanted that said, no, I can't do it?
No, some don't respond.
Nate, you want to name a name right now? We'll bleep it.
Not really. There's probably too many to name, but
I like podcasts because I was like, there's topic. I mean, if we were like, when a camera's not on, people are willing to say more shit.
Oh yeah. I mean, Honestly, with my podcast, one of the things I always did is if people like, especially with comics, if they said bad things about other comics, I always took it out.
Oh, that's right.
Because I was like, even if you feel that way in the moment, like things change, and I would hate this to like live on and like you have a problem with someone.
I'm trying to be more I mean, that's a good thing. I'm trying to, speaking of just shit talking, I'm trying to be more positive. I feel like
I've noticed the more positive energy from you.
It's funny because I feel like
Are you meditating?
I've
What's
been
going on?
so negative lately. I mean, complaining is so easy. It's like the easiest thing. It's almost like a bottomless well. You get nothing from it. You feel like venting would make you feel better. And then I kind of step back and I go, I've been bitching for like a month.
I remember on one hike, I told you, I was like, we were talking about some situation. I was like, imagine if this scenario happened, how would you feel? Like, you'd probably be annoyed. He's like, and you're like, I'm annoyed you just bringing it up. I was like, yeah,
It's a bad habit. I mean, but it's weird. We're in a profession that almost encourages complaining and finding issues and things. So it's weird. You're like playing with fire and you try not to let that bleed into just everyday thoughts.
you can I think constructive complaining is part of comedy, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I
We're
feel
kind
bad.
of complaining on stage. Like, can you believe this happened?
I mean, it's
Or-
all Dave Ryan. It's a flapper said comedy's complaints and confessions, which I think it is. But then no one wants to hear you brag. I mean, when people being around somebody who's bragging, you're just like, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
I can't hear it. You have to word a brag so poetically, so it just sounds like you're,
It has to be so outrageous that you're being ridiculous.
But it's either that or you have to just be very like,
or like, oh no, it's nothing. Like, yeah,
Right.
anything in between is gross. There's so many gross ways to have a conversation that you're just like, oh, stop.
I used to date a girl and she would be like, I'm really hot, and I'm just like,
Ugh.
I want to be like, you're a disgusting wench. That was like my first thing I wanted to say. Like, it's weird when I don't know if it's just me, but like when I hear somebody say something so congratulatory of themselves, I want to just think and I want to argue why the opposite is more true than what they just said.
Yeah, I mean, it says probably a lot about how they're feeling, maybe insecure at that
100%. But it's like, and you should be like, you know what? I can sense the red flags of your insecurities. But in the moment, I want to be like, here's 10 reasons why that's not true.
Everything just becomes a top 10 list with you. You're just like, I'm gonna make a little video about this later.
Dude, we're in a field. I mean, like, you've heard comics get off stage like, I just crushed. And I want to be like, did you just hear the crap? What did you hear? What were you listening? I mean, and I hate to even me. This sounds like I'm talking down on them because, like, I'll get off stage, I'm like, that was fun. I think there's like words you have to say. Like, as a comic, when you get off stage, if you did really well, you should say that was fun, not I did great.
I've never heard someone say, I just crushed.
Oh my God, you want to hear some bleeps right now?
No, don't make yourself bleep anything out.
No,
but
I'm not going to. But
I've like rarely heard that. Usually, I hear a lot of like people saying like, "Oh, I was not that good" when they were good. I was like, "Oh, went really bad." I was like, "No, you're great."
that's good. I mean, that's my thought every day.
Maybe you need a new circle of friends.
I think I do. I mean, this podcast.
All right, I'm out.
This podcast is called The Interview, and it's just trying to find a new group of.
Which that would be hilarious. Which friends stay in your life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good idea. It's just a
Really good idea. That's not happening now.
It's like the NCAA tournament. I just have a list of people, and then it's like,
You pair them up.
and by the last guy, I go, just so you know, you're my best man at my wedding. And he's like, I don't even want to be here. And I'm like, you won the series.
You're like,
I freaking
your
need
best
you.
man's Gonzaga.
That's funny. You're speaking of best man. You're a married guy. Who's your best man?
It was my roommate from Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Came down for it and everything.
Did you have a bachelor party?
I did, yeah.
Was it a good one? I feel like bachelor parties are either like there's like 3 tiers. It's either wild. No, it's like 2. It's either wild or just like so.
I felt it was very adult, but what I enjoyed about it, it was like hangover style where it was like
Oh, really?
before the wedding. So we went down, did it, came back, got married.
Like right before the wedding?
Yeah.
Oh, like a day or 2 before?
Yeah, like came back the next day married.
We did that for my buddy Adam. I was the best man at that wedding, and because his original wedding actually was supposed to be in England and got canceled because of COVID. And we're gonna do this like big London fucking bangers and mash style.
I love London.
Never been.
Oh, it's so great.
I gotta go.
It'd be cool to like do a comedy show there or something.
I'm worried.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like I'd go to another country, and I'm worried to go to Toronto.
Why?
I don't
you
know.
would crush
Dude, when I think
you,
of,
you
like,
probably have a lot of fans in Toronto.
I have actually a solid amount where I'm like, I think
Do comedy bar.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because one of the biggest problems. I don't know where to go.
Comedy bar.
All right. Well, when I think of Canada, I don't know what it is. I feel like there's, and I don't even say anything that's super American. I mean,
You're from Connecticut. It's basically Canada.
That's what I'm saying. And it's weird because I think
you could be Canadian. Forget Caleb.
And I was like, I either get along with people from Connecticut or Canada, and I was like, they act the same.
Yes,
It's
hockey. We're kind of like homebody people. We're just not. You're pleasant. You're a nice guy.
Canada is Connecticut in the sense, like, as down for the people. Don't worry,
just rolling dumpsters.
They're just getting trash out of my fucking place. Where same personality, and people don't believe that they're ghettos areas of Canada, as they don't believe there's ghetto areas of Connecticut.
But I know now, just from hearing more Comics Road stories about how crazy Connecticut is. Canada, there are some bad areas.
When I hear someone like,
it's just different from America.
When I hear like Toronto people trying to act like like when I hear Drake's stories or like stories of Toronto, I'm just like, I mean, but you're Canada.
Yeah, but all Americans feel that way.
You have puddles of syrup on the ground. Like just a very whimsical assumption of your country, but
yeah, I mean, I think you should go. I think you do really well in Toronto, possibly Vancouver.
I'll definitely try it, but
yeah, because you're really good at stats. Like I see you like polling people for where to tour.
Oh, dude,
and, like saying email me. Every time I watch your hustle, I'm like, I should be doing that.
That's fun. I'm glad. It's the good thing to hear because lately, like I said, the negative world. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Because it's so easy to see the person further than you, and you're just like, what am I doing? Well, I'm not doing enough. And then have you ever just like panic post, whether it's like me bugging strangers for emails or just throwing an old video, which I did on the way to the gym. I was hopped up on pre-workout, wasn't ready for this podcast, just fucking firing out old videos. I'm just like yelling at myself. I'm not filming enough, but
yeah,
it's sometimes it's good to hear outside.
Sometimes I panic text like bookers and stuff. I'm like, hey, here's my dates.
Oh, dude, and then you look like you're like, fuck me. I look like a thirsty asshole, which is not a good look. But
what were you texting me about yesterday? You're like, is there a cold open?
Oh, I was just because I didn't have a spot, and she was doing her podcast at the time of your show.
Okay. And
I was like, I was gonna go, and then I was like, well, let me see if they have a cold open because I know.
But why don't you? I didn't understand what you were saying. You didn't say, hey, can I cold open?
I guess I thought I were. The coffee thing. You get one question.
You're like, do they allow cold opens? I was like, I guess.
Oh, I was like, is there one for your show? And then you said no, and I was like, I don't think I was specific enough.
No, you weren't.
Because you were like, oh, there's not one, and then I was like, oh, maybe he meant like, oh, there's not one. Do you want to do it? And then I wrote, see, dude.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
That's how I took it. Where you're like, is there a cold open? You so no. And then I was like, oh, are they allowing one? Meaning, did the club say you can have a cold open?
Well, they tried to. They gave me already one person to book, and then I feel really bad, but I forgot about one person that I had booked, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm coming. I don't see myself on the flyer. I was like, oh, so I was already over. Yeah. But they would allow, and then they tried to give me a cold open, and I was like, I can't do it. They tried to give me like a house cold open, and I was like, we're over. Like,
which is weird because there was on the show behind.
But I didn't know that at the time. So I didn't know this show that they canceled the entire show after our show until like the show started.
Just kept that shit going.
So I could have kept it going.
Could have Marquezed it. He just gets, dude. He'll just keep adding people at the end.
The sound guys don't like it though.
I know.
I added one guy and they were like, no.
I don't know if I said this, but Latif is also a stand-up comedian.
We didn't really give me a good intro.
Yeah, I know. Let's do the intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the new episode of the Matty Chymbor podcast. Returning guest Latif Tayour, stand-up comic, dad, husband. Music engineer,
ex-music
engineer, future startup financial advisor.
Who knows? A lot of stuff.
You got a lot of hats.
I have too many hats. I think because I like a lot of stuff.
What's your favorite hat to wear?
I don't have a favorite hat. It's like asking a favorite kid.
Yeah, that's true. You got to just say, I love them all, even though you damn well know. I just saw on a podcast, you have 3 lives. You have the public life, your private life, and your secret life.
Ooh.
That was me just stealing from, who the fuck was that? It was some dude on Joe Rogan.
Like your internal life?
I guess the public life is like, the one that you, not you, but like straight, if I'm in public, people see me, maybe they're acquaintances. Private life is close friends. So like, more about me, I'm willing to tell you X, Y, and Z. And then you have your secret life, which just sounds pervy, but in the secret world, you have that list in your head. You have the hat list.
The hat list?
But in the private, semi-public world that we're in right now,
I feel like the world has changed now where it's all one thing. And the more you are embracing of the one thing, the more happy you are. Because we're all being recorded. Like,
What's I'm saying? We're merging like the camera. Like if
like look at us. We know a lot about each other, but we're doing it publicly. But if you go outside and you act like an asshole, someone's gonna film you. Like you're just on all the time, and that can be draining.
it's terrifying.
But it is also. It's like you kind of just should be yourself in a way.
Yeah, I mean, and I do think a part of us is assuming more people are watching than they are, in the sense of like, I don't know if you've ever, like, I'll feel this where with my social media, I put a bad post, I do a dumb thing, and I'm like, oh, these people think I'm stupid, and then you drive to the gym or as you're working out or whatever, you're like, or maybe people don't even give a shit.
They don't care. I think I've told you the story, but sometimes I'll do a show and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this old joke, but I'll do it, whatever. And I do it, and then someone will be like, "Oh my God, like I didn't know you had kids." Like someone that I know I've performed in front of like maybe 10, 30 times, and I'm like, "Oh, you're just not paying it. Like no one's paying attention.
No one
cares."
cares.
That's like half my act, and they're like, "Oh, so you just like it's all in our head. Like nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit."
Yeah.
I mean, I'll post stuff, and people always say this is your best video, and I was like, if you knew me, you'd know I'm crying because I posted this 10 times already, and I'm miserable right now
Because they just don't know.
But little do they know, with that backhanded compliment, it did make
It's
me
not
feel.
a backhanded compliment.
No, but it makes me feel better. You're like, no, as much as I'm like, oh, they don't even give a shit, but them not giving a shit makes me realize, oh, no one's paying attention as much as I thought.
We were at Laurel Tavern with Jeff Dye when he was saying, "Hey, you should be reposting all these videos." And you're like, yeah, and you're like, he was
Oh
going,
my God.
he was going through your feed and being like, dude, like take this one and post it again, take
Jeff
this one,
Dye.
post it again, and you did that, and it changed your whole game.
Jeff Dye resurrected me that night, and now he's created a monster because I haven't done a new video in fucking months. But enough about me. Yeah, I do want to talk about. So what I'm trying to do with this podcast, I think all my friends are super interesting, and I want people to hear their stories because that's why LA's cool. You're comics. We're all funny. I don't want to just talk about stand-up. I mean, you're a Grammy-nominated music producer.
Engineer.
It
was Grammy for engineer, but yeah.
Yeah, I was making sure you're listening. I mean, I don't even know much about that. Like, who's the artist? Wasn't Wiz Khalifa?
I mean, I mastered Wiz Khalifa's first mixtape. I've worked with
Black and Yellow. Were you in on that?
I did not do Black and Yellow. That was after me. But at that time, I was working for the label.
Wiz Khalifa, I still find myself putting his songs on my favorites list.
He's got a lot of good songs.
He might be not like what, the Wiz from Black and Yellow era, but the dude still is putting out hits.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so I've worked on songs that have been nominated for Grammys, but me, myself, I was not nominated for a Grammy. But
when you say worked on a song, like, I mean, it's
like this, because
do they give you a part of it and go, hey, blend this?
I've done different roles. So I've done producing, mixing, and engineering. So
Right.
like engineering and mixing is more like, hey, engineering is like the recording of the album typically. So you're working with the artist in the studio. Mixing is like when you mix the record. So you're either mixing the record you recorded or they're handing you all the parts. It's funny. I was with Chappelle Lacey, who was on the show last night. And he was telling me all about his band.
Oh,
and he's
yeah,
working
yeah,
on
yeah.
a project. So we really bonded over talking about music studio stuff because he's in the studio right now. And
Big punk guy.
Big punk, yeah. And he played me some of his records and it was really good. But yeah, so and then producing is kind of like directing. You're like, do it again, one more time, and you're kind of responsible for the project.
Right.
And then writing is like either the words and melody, or if you're a hip hop producer, it's writing the beat or making the beat.
Do you have an ear for music?
I do, yeah. Because I don't I can read music. I used to play the viola, but a lot of what I did, I would say the peak of my engineering, I was working with like Kelly Rowland, Mary J. Blige, stuff like in the studio where it would usually just be me and them, and we would just record their vocals. And I'd be like, hey, take this take again. Let's go through it. Let's make it better. And so you have to have an ear for it.
Have you ever had pushback from like one of the stars?
I've had pushback. Everyone has pushback, but it's kind of like.
Is it more of like just fucking do it and let's compare the two?
I don't know if it's just fucking do it, but it's more like, I think that's what actually.
Just imagine you on the other side of the glass. You press the button to just let them hear you. Hey, Mary, just fucking do it.
there was there was one story about the button I was working with. This is when I was more junior. I was like a second engineer to the main engineer because I used to work with Nickelback. Don't hate me, but they're actually really nice guys, and they don't deserve all the hate.
When people hate Nickelback, that's like
it's such a trope.
That's like buying into a trend, like doing the Dougie or some shit. It's like equivalent to like something that's like it's so stupid and everybody like piles on. I'm like, no, they're still they're probably billionaires if I had to guess.
Very rich, but
not billionaires.
There was one time, you can either record in the booth, someone's in the booth, or someone's right next to you. And sometimes you come in with a guitar into the control room to play, and you all have headphones on. But you have the talkback mic, and you're so used to hitting it and being like, one more time. And I remember the main engineer, we were so tired. He goes, one more time. But he's like right here, and we all just like cracked up laughing. To me, that's like the recording studio was the first like comedy club for me. Like it was so fun, and everyone's just ripping on each other like
because you're in there forever.
We were there like all year. This is like no phones, and you're just stuck like working on this thing I don't know, stuck, but it's fun. You're there 12 hours a day, you're ordering sushi together, and it's like you're bonding, and like everyone's just making jokes, and it's like it's such a good time.
When I was in high school, my friend was he tried rapping, and his basement he would record raps in there, and we'd always hang out, and he would
raps in Connecticut.
Oh yeah, dude, he was a white rapper. His name's J Drop. He was really, dude. I swear to God, to this day, I stand by it. If he kept doing it, I think he would be like a successful rapper. Like I would play his music, and maybe I will on this thing. He was so good, but I remember we would hang there, and we'd smoke and drink and shit, and he would freestyle. Maybe I would do little ad libs in the background. Just fucking.
You're like the Puff Daddy, or
dude, I was exactly that.
Take that.
And then it's funny because then I watched Dave, the show with Lil Dicky, and I saw their like environment of all the smoking and shit. I was like,
Dave
that must be the party.
Is so accurate to music business, it's ridiculous.
Which is good because the only entertainment I know is stand up. So to watch, like, it goes from like him being a quote unquote like open micer type. It ramps up quick the way Crashing did with Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
But if you slowed that down, I'm like, I can see where that would have been a year or two. That's a year or two. And
when he goes into have you watched the other seasons or just the first one?
I stopped at I think after that, like there was like that famous Chinese or Korean or whatever female. I think that was the last season I watched.
Okay, so before that, there was a moment when he goes in the studio and he plays the record.
Right.
And it's just like this crazy record, and it's like offensive, and he goes, "This is the record, and I'm not changing it." I've been in that meeting a million times
with like a up and coming guy,
just like anyone playing the record, and like this is like, and I'm just being like, "This is it," and I'm not changing it.
That's Seinfeld. That's George. This is the show.
Oh yeah,
we're not changing it.
I didn't even get that ref. That was probably a Seinfeld ref. A little bit tucked underneath,
He's dropping comedic things, and he's like, no one got that.
Yeah,
he goes, they thought I was serious.
But yeah,
this is the show. It's gonna be on TV, and then the executive goes, not yet.
Very good with your Seinfeld. You could be on Tuesdays with Stories.
Oh, dude, when I watch that, I'm like, that's like the major leagues of quoting Seinfeld. I'm like, I could be on that.
You could be, yeah.
I mean, I wish I was.
Yeah, I love Dave. They just did it really well. That and Atlanta did it too.
I didn't watch Atlanta.
They nailed a lot of the music business stuff too.
Yeah, music's interesting. I mean, but again, a lot of white rappers in Connecticut. I don't know what it was.
Well, it's a lot of whites in general, right?
Oh yeah, dude. Honestly, not if you. I tell everyone this when they're like, "What's Connecticut?" I'm like, every state is the same. We have strip malls. You have some of this race, some of that race. Connecticut. In my hometown, Meriden, we just so happen to have a big Puerto Rican and black population. My high school was, white was not the predominant race. I mean, it was pretty mixed.
Okay.
So it's always funny, like every kid, we'd graduate high school, they'd probably be in freaking community college, whatever. Doing the prerequisites. I feel like every kid at the age of like 22, 23 just tried like a stab at rapping at one point. And you just see them putting it on Facebook, and I'm like, ballsy move.
That was the thing is like I never saw people putting it on Facebook because when I was
or YouTube, but
Yeah. That's interesting because now you're committed.
Oh, dude, now people know. And
that's
then
like one level. It's like just below face tattoo. It's like putting it on Facebook.
I mean, and then you're like,
you have a name. You're like,
a Lil Drop.
I'm Lil Smoke.
He was J Drop. I knew a guy named Miliano. I knew, all these like rap names, and I'm like, you're like a rapper now. Your family knows. They were. I mean, some like
your family knows. That's funny.
Yeah, people. That's like when at least with stand up. I think stand up and rap are very similar. It's because the first thing you show to the public is just cringe. And everyone's like, Jesus Christ, what is he doing? And then now you're chasing.
Rap is more cringe though.
Oh, I always say like,
because you're becoming someone else in a way. Where stand up, you're just kind of becoming more of yourself.
But I think like Lil Dicky did it well, where it's kind of like his like silly alter ego versus like this serious like. I mean, my friends would rap about like shooting guns and popping people, and I'm like, you live at your house with your mom.
See, that's not good. But
it was like fake. It was just fake.
But just repeating what they hear in the songs they like.
Right. It's like emulating a baseball player's batting stance, but rap and shooting guns and fucking your bitch. And I'm like, you've done none of those.
That's why I think what I like about Drake is that he makes fun of himself. Have you seen that man on the street when he dresses up?
No.
And he puts on like all this makeup and he goes out and you can't tell it's him. And he interviews people being like, what do you think about Drake? And they're like, oh, Drake sucks, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, yeah. And then he just keeps interviewing them.
I think you have to have that level of self-awareness with rapping or stand-up where you have to like almost shit on yourself. So people...
It's fun. Like to not take yourself seriously is endearing.
Oh, 100%.
And I think he does that really. He did a commercial where like he's all dressed nice and then he's advertising his drink or whatever, some champagne or whatever. And then he like doesn't get the girl in the ad.
That's funny.
He like goes in and she's like, no, excuse me. And like goes off with like his dad or something.
That's creative.
And you're just like, that's cool. That's fun.
I like
and he's Canadian. Come on.
He is Canadian. Good guy. Views of the Six. Is the Six Toronto?
I guess. I'm from Vancouver. I don't know. I think so. It must be, right?
I'm learning more about Canadian geography. So
because there's also on the Six, Jennifer Lopez, but she's not from Toronto.
Jenny from the Block. That's all I know. On the Six.
On the Six was her first album.
I still think Canada. I mean, my thoughts on it are just like
you got to go. Have you ever?
I got to tell you right now on my email list, I just lump Canada as one.
You're gonna be the most disorganized tour.
Oh, dude, it's called...
It's like saying L.A. and Chicago are one.
It's called... I thought this was St. Louis tour.
That's actually funny.
I know. I just keep saying the wrong... I sell merch at the wrong state. But what was I saying? Oh, speaking of like being self-aware. See, I like rap. I mean, certain artists can do that. You ever watch Billy on the Street? I like when he has like a famous actor with him, and then they go to a stranger and go, do you like Rob Lowe? And the person's like, who's that? And then he's standing there, and you see it hurt a little.
Yeah.
he's like, just the pain of just like kind of...
well, especially celebrities that are not important anymore.
I mean, that's the...
Or just not known to a different demo. Because what is celebrity to the next generation? It's not even TV.
Dude, you can be the biggest person of your generation, and the next generation can look at you and be like, who the fuck is that guy?
That's just normal. That's life.
But that's like, it's outside looking in. You're like, oh, that must suck.
There's John Wayne Airport, but like people probably don't even know who he is.
Dude, they changed Bob Hope. It's just L.A. Airport now.
What?
Bob Hope Airport's not called Bob Hope
the
Airport.
Burbank one?
It's called like the Hollywood Airport.
Oh, yeah. They just got rid of him?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can have an airport named after you and you're fucked.
I always wondered with naming rights. How does that work? You just like pay all this money to be named, and then they're like, we're done with you?
It must have been like a donation thing, like
Actually, it's probably honorary. He probably didn't pay to become the airport. But I think because all his shows were done in Burbank. Burbank's actually kind of dope because like Johnny Carson was there. Jay Leno's there.
Burbank was my first place I lived out here, so
it's still kind of like old California that hasn't been developed in some streets. Like it'd be like a weird donut shop and like a chili place with a neon
gradient.
Sign.
You have like closer to the mountain, you have like the LA vibe, the people that couldn't afford living over the hill, and then you gradient back, and then next thing you know, you're in Pacoima, and you're like, this is Southern California that no one knows about.
But downtown Burbank is like the Midwest.
Oh, like by the
theater and like
First Street.
You're just like you go there and you're like, whoa, what's happening?
But again, it's funny. Like LA, I I still am more of a valley person. I mean, living over here is fun, but
You really upgraded. I like your new place. This is nice.
yeah. If you guys don't know, I mean, I talked about it, but
Everyone knows your apartment. I went into your apartment for the first time. I'm like, oh, there's the plant. There's the table.
No, what's bizarre is here I'm having a little bit of creative rut because I'm filling out the place still. I don't have the door I used to walk through.
You don't know. You don't have the angles.
I don't. The angles are new. The lighting, I'm like, ah, fuck, I'm not used to that lighting. And I swear to God, like, I filmed one here though, and it did turn out well. And I was like, okay, that's promising. But it's still like the old place. It was like I knew where to go for what shot.
You should go knock on their door and be like, hey, it's me. You probably recognize me from my Instagram.
Do like a Kramer tour. What if I paid people to go see my old place? But I thought about, know what I did, and I'm mad I didn't, and I was just so over moving. I was gonna do a video of me leaving, but I was like, that would be like my first sad reel.
It'd be kind of cool.
I thought about it, and I was like, I know when it's like good because I'm like, oh, I felt something, and I'm like, okay, that would have been a good one.
Do you still have the door code? You could just go do it in the hallway?
Bro, I can fucking break into that building like right now. I've thought about it.
Let's go.
I thought about it, and then, I mean, I had a wild last couple weeks. My neighbor, I didn't think I told you this, so me and Mandy were FaceTiming in my living room with my nephew. Mandy's laughing. It's an echoey place. She's loud. We're having fun. Everyone's loud. My neighbor shoots me a text. Hey, I see the preview at the top of the bar. She's like, hey, blah, 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 loud, keep it down. It's 4 p.m. on a Thursday. No, the old place.
Okay.
4 p.m. on a Thursday. I'm like, okay, I ignored it because the neighbor, she's a 40-year-old vet of the building. They think because they lived there 12 years.
They have seniority, like
they think it's their
they
yard.
have tenure.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not a senior. And I'm, like, you're just a loser. I hear a knock on my door. I'm like, it's about to go down right now. And I open the door and she's like, kind of doing that like fake polite but also like bitchy shit, like, hey, I'm on a work call, and I was like, I'm FaceTiming my family, I don't care. She goes, it's really loud. I go, I mean, everybody's loud, we'll just deal with it. And then I go to shut the door and she jams her foot in the door and goes, tell your basic bitch girlfriend to shut the fuck up. And I literally saw red and I go, what the fuck? And then I she did the thing. She didn't put her foot in the door where the jam is. She did the thing like when you put it like stops on your toe. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that little kid shit. And I almost broke my door because it pivoted hard, but I shoved her foot back. I felt it like skidding, slammed it shut, and I was like, you're a fucking piece of shit. And I did that. And yeah, it was this whole fiasco. I told my building manager, I'm like, hey, just to let you know, I don't know how to handle this, but this psycho called, and he was ready to call the cops on her because he's like, I've heard a lot of complaints about her.
Yeah.
Because these people in these apartment buildings, and
Is this why you moved?
no, that was kind of like, we were actually looking like loosely, and then once that happened, I'm like, let's get this figured out because I can't do this shit anymore.
That's funny. She went from like polite to like.
Well, it was like a fake, like when you're bought, like.
Why does a 40-year-old say basic bitch?
It was cringy too, and mind you, there was one time
She should have said like, "Oh, I'm gonna go unlike your reels." You're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Hey,
All right, let's work this out."
Hey, Mandy, hang up the phone. This lady's talking crazy. No, it was just. I've heard she's like complained about noise before. I mean, like when you're in an apartment building, I'm like, there's like a gray area of just dealing with it.
I couldn't go back to apartments now because of like everyone smokes all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Like it seeps through all the walls. Like before, like since it's like the last, I'd say 10 years, it's like everyone's smoking 24/7.
I mean, I'd like to think they're transitioning to edibles with the whole shroom boom, as we call it. I just made that up. That sounds pretty good.
Should be in marketing.
Shroom boom.
I think we messed up because we should have had a podcast together.
I know we've talked.
We talked about that before I started my podcast. I think it would have been good because we both can go in any direction.
It's
on
called Backyard
anything.
and Six Pack, and it's just us sitting. I have this weird fantasy where I want to have a yard and those like string lights, and I just want to sit in a chair by myself and drink a six pack. I don't know what it is. That sounds
And
like
just finish it.
every episode I slam a six pack. Dude, I would probably do that and just develop a huge problem. I mean, even now I drink wine at night, and I'm like, this can't be
Daily?
No, I'll take like a few days off, and then.
But you're healthy. You're going to the gym.
I'm trying. I mean,
we talk about fitness a lot. We talk about investing. We talk about comedy. Talk about other people. We know the same people.
Since COVID, Latif and I mean, when we couldn't do shit, we'd hike every day. Fitness became. I started doing P90X.
Oh yeah, you gave me the videos.
I ripped it, gave it to him. We're very white collar criminals right now, just sharing Tony Horton's success. But anyways, got big into fitness. You've, I think, surpassed me way more in the whole dietary world.
I kind of go full on when I get into something. So yeah, now I'm like logging my calories in like with the scale and stuff. I meal prep.
You still do that? You still log it?
I just started a new app that my friend put me on called Lose It, which is not a great name, but it's like MyFitnessPal, but way smoother. And
it's a virginity app. It's called Lose It.
He's actually trying to tell me something else, but
so hookers.
You just put it's great. It's great.
Oh, was that the one you sent me?
I sent it to you. I was so excited about it. And then I use Strong for the workouts, and I track all my workouts.
Yeah, your chest workout was pretty intense. I was at the gym today. I did arms real quick.
Yeah. So I try to go to the gym like I go 6 days a week, and then my rest day I just do cardio.
LA Fitness, right?
LA Fitness.
Who's the most annoying gym goer, do you think?
Oh, I have so much gym beef.
I'm gonna give you 2, maybe 3.
There's not even a question of who it is. It's the music out loud guy.
Here's the 3. I'm gonna start with music out loud guy who's doing a circuit with all the dumbbells, dancing in the mirror guy.
I don't have dumbbell circuit guy or
really?
Dancing. No, I have video stand guy. That's annoying.
Never seen video stand.
No,
guy.
like a full
like he's
selfie
like
stick
influencer.
Yeah, influencer taping, but for sure music. And there's just one guy who just puts it on full blast. He just wants someone to say something.
Oh, you think he's like trying to start shit?
Oh yeah, and he's like the same guy who goes and says like, "Are you done with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on the bench." He's like, and he kind of makes a face like I'm like, "I'm in between reps, man. Like, what do you want?"
And then he turns into, "I'll just stand here and wait till you're done." I've had a guy where I'm like warming up on bench press, and he's like, "Are you almost done?" I go, "I'm just starting." He goes, "Okay, cool." And then he proceeds to just stand there. And I've never taken so long in my life. I'm like, dude, you're going to watch a full chest workout.
You're going to add different exercises?
Oh, dude, just do something else. I mean,
I go in the morning now because it's so busy. Like, try to get on the flies, like anything, the cable machines.
I think about 10 people understand the issues, and they are really resonating with this. The other people are probably like,
they're bored by it.
But I mean, if you're taking a bunch of weights, asking people, I mean, there's gym etiquette, and it's like, it blows my mind because in the most self-conscious place on earth, you're willing to go to that level. You're a true sociopath.
Yeah, there's been, or like sometimes I'll go to a machine and I'll start on it. I'll be on my second set, right, and someone comes over and says, "Oh, I was using that."
Right.
I was like, "You've been gone for 15 minutes." And then you see like his little water bottle near the thing or like a bag, and I'm like, "All right."
I think a new thing I'm seeing at the gym is couples, not only that work out together, but there's a rest period of affection. Where
I haven't seen that.
Where I'm like,
that's gross.
I mean, it's like I get going to the gym together, and then I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's weird because I want to complain, and then like in LA, I feel like sometimes depending on the type of whatever.
But you go to the Hollywood one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little.
Like I'm working out, and these 2 dudes are just making out. I'm like, I can't work out like this. I was like, this is insane.
Because it's just it's just kind of like a public.
You're like, how is but if I said something, I can't be.
I think any couple, no matter what it is, it's like
shut it down.
We're working out. Yeah. This is just like.
It's tough though. I mean, working out, it's all diet. I mean, like I said, you're kind of further along. I'm trying to do I'm really teetering on this like whole new healthy cheat meal thing we're working on. Dude, I did like air fried orange chicken. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know if it's worth. I mean, it's easy to gain muscle. It's to slim up is the hard part.
I'm trying to slim up right now, and it's like not working.
It's really hard.
It's hard.
I mean, there's zero room for error. Like, I mean, we've talked about it. Having me slamming 2 glasses of wine last night, I was like, this set me back. Because then you're puffy for a couple. I mean, that's the thing with COVID. I was really good because I wasn't drinking, and you as well. And then you introduce drinking back in, and you're like, oh, there's just a level with drinking that you'll never get below. Like, as far as like, here's being ripped, you can get there if you don't drink. But the second you bring it back, you just like start to swell. You'll like.
Would you drink beer?
Yeah, oh yeah, now, dude, I have a White Claw sitting right next.
Yeah,
to
but
me.
White Claw is probably like less calories.
Dude, White Claws are sketch. I don't know
Really?
what's up with those things. I can drink 6 White Claws and feel like literal dog shit, or I can drink 6 beers and be like, okay, I'm fine.
But then why do you drink them? You like the taste?
I don't know. I'm addicted, I think.
You might be addicted.
It's just I mean, it's like, I don't know why I still feel like health conscious wise. I'm like, oh, it's just a seltzer.
But yesterday, like, it's interesting. I don't know where I sit with alcohol because after the show last night, I was like, I kind of wanted a beer, but then I kind of didn't. I feel like everyone just goes home anyway. Like the show is over, everyone's like out, and you're just like, all right, well, I'm gonna go home too.
The hang
like,
in comedy is not what you think it
the
is.
hang in no, but post COVID, it's done.
I mean, there's nothing. I feel the same way. Even that night that we were all gonna get a beer, and then all our
They're like
brains,
cleaning up around us,
Yeah,
and we're
you're
trying
like-
to get the bartender's attention. You're like, nah.
This isn't beer environment. This isn't hang beer environment. We look like junkies who are trying to get the last one in while they clean, and you're like, that looks fucking worse.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think right now, my favorite moments of drinking is just ripping wine at home as I'm making dinner. And,
That's fun.
And I'm like, I hate to say it, hits the
I don't know
best.
if ripping is the best adjective for wine.
I don't sip wine. I can't do
What do
it.
you mean rip it?
I'll gulp that shit. I'll just take I mean, I can't.
Swig it?
Swig.
Ripping is like for smoking.
Not in this house.
Ripping wine?
Rip wine.
Rip wine's actually a good name.
Rip wine.
I think alcohol
And it
brand.
comes in a can. And you
I really like what Mark and Sam did with their alcohol brand. That was so smart.
Who the hell's Mark and Sam?
Mark Norman and Sam Morrell.
They have an alcohol one?
They have a Bodega Cat whiskey.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good. That's a very New York thing.
Yeah.
What are we? That doesn't matter. Oh, we got time. It's funny. Speaking of them in New York, I just got back. I did stand up.
Oh
in New
yeah.
York the first
How was
time.
City Winery?
It was great. I mean, I think for a venue that doesn't. I mean, they have like obviously rooms for performing, and for a non-comedy club show, I thought it was great. New York had their shit together. I mean, it was like the GM or whoever, this guy Phoenix. I mean,
New York Stand Up New York or New York Comedy Club?
no, City Winery in New York.
Oh, in New York. Okay.
I did one there. I mean, they just had their shit together. It's a well-known venue.
Yeah, Mulaney did his hour there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably did the big room. I did the small room, but even the small room upstairs seats like 150. I sold 112, which I thought was pretty good.
Hell yeah. Room 112.
I know, room 112, ripping wine. But it was great. I think. But New York as a whole, I mean, it's funny. They say Bodega Cat. In LA, people don't really know what that means. But like New York has such a distinguished personality.
7-Eleven's creeping in though.
What do you mean?
Because bodegas are like the New York 7-Elevens run by
Oh.
like families or just a person. But the corporate 7-Elevens are creeping into New York.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't go into any bodegas. I saw them, and then I go, "Is that a bodega, or is it?" Because like out here, what looks like a bodega is a little sketch, but in New York, there's a trust, and people they go to those things. So I mean, I kind of
Everything on New York's on the fly too. It's like, I need a water. You just dip in there. Like you kind of like the convenience factor of having everything at hand that's like that's when people, because I came to LA from New York, and that's the biggest thing. You're like, oh, convenience is just impossible.
Oh, here it's not. Here, your convenience is being away from everything.
I stopped at CVS on the way here, and I was like, it was just a nightmare.
It's a piece. I mean, it's a dump. But even in New York, though, I thought late night food, yada yada. We get out. I did West Side Comedy Club.
I like West Side Comedy Club.
They're very.
Yeah.
The fact that they gave me a spot was great.
Yeah,
And then me and Mandy
they're
were
very welcoming.
super. Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah.
Super hungry. You go to this place. It's probably like 12 o'clock or so. They hand us a menu, and I'm like, I'm dying right now. I'm like, can I get the burger? And they go, oh, food's been done for like 3 hours. I go, why did you give me a menu then?
Oh,
That's where I was like, this isn't the New York I heard. I heard you guys eat late, and next thing you know,
it's changed. Because I did the Comedy Bunker show there.
Where'd you do that at?
I did it at the Stand.
Where's the stand? Now that I understand.
The Stand is like
Manhattan.
by not too far from Union Square off of 14th Street.
Is it what?
I think it's on 16th.
Is it west or east?
Uh, East.
East. Okay, I stayed
East 16th.
I stayed on Lower West Side.
Lower West Side. Okay, yeah.
Like
So
7th and like in the Village.
okay, yeah, in West Village.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like crosstown and up a few blocks.
Right. I do appreciate it is convenient, but it's funny. Me and Mandy took the train around. Dude, freaking out with the subway. I was like, I don't even know what way we're going. I actually forgot my debit card
Do you
number.
not have a lot of New York experience?
I mean, I would go to Yankee games growing up, but I never would go in the city.
Oh.
I think I went in the city like once and someone showed me around. So that was the first time I've actually navigated New York.
Really?
I'm from Connecticut. That's very sad.
That's sad because you only post-pandemic.
I know, dude. But dude, one day we're running in. I'm running late to the West Side show. My credit card doesn't work. I put my debit card in and it said, "What's the PIN?" I forgot it. I had to pull the thing out. And then, long story short, you can use Apple Pay on the subways now.
Yeah.
And I fucked up, but I mean, it seems cool riding the subway. It smells like shit. Everyone's doing it. You're like, oh, it's very convenient. I like it. And then we took a rental car to Philly and we sat in the seats and I go, this is why we drive. It felt like this. And we were like, why are these seats so goddamn comfortable?
Yeah.
There's like freedom in driving. And I was like, and even coming back like to here, I was like, I like New York a lot and I could see myself going there for like a week, like kind of like what you've done in the past. But I do like this.
But people there have cars now. Like the good New York experience is now living outside the city and having a car.
Yeah.
It's kind of different.
I do like it, though. I like the East Coast vibe. I think it's cool. The scene, I mean, the one show we did at West Side, it was good. I mean, I don't know what it was. I thought it was going to come in and people were just going to be fucking throwing haymakers of jokes and stuff. They were funny, but I was like, oh, it's L.A. I always put things on pedestals sometimes, and then you get there, and you're like, the crowd was a little timid, though, to be honest.
I find the West Side Comedy Club's crowds to be a little rich, and they're a little like lean back, like, all right, clown.
It was that vibe for a few jokes, and I remember getting off stage, and it was a good set. It was a fun set, and I was
crushed.
Like, yeah, I mean, it was like I got off stage, and I was like, it's weird. They would laugh really hard at one part, and then the other part where I'm used to getting a laugh, they would be like, and I'm like, it's fine. I mean, but I was like, really? I was like, at that, you didn't laugh at that, but you laughed at this.
I had a weird set last time I was there too. It was just like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Which is funny because then the next night I was like, oh, I have to do a headlining set, and I was just freaking out.
Okay, dude, it went well. Yeah,
it was nah. I mean, it's like you get off stage and you're like, I did it. I mean, that's the beauty of like now I'll be doing headlining. You're like, it's almost just like walking the plank. You're just like, I will be here in an hour. I don't know what type of human I'll be or how confident I'll be, but you're going to get through it somehow. There's things you learn. I think what the good thing now is, even though I've been headlining a little more, I'm taking this set and I'm going to be like, this I feel like is the beginning of like the chunks that you want in a headlining set. And I'm like, I want to go look back in 3 months and be like, this headlining set is better than it was then.
Yeah.
Because it was good. There's good moments. There was moments where I was like, yeah, they were kind of not into it. But one thing you realize, you're like, you like the way your energy fluctuates, theirs does too. Like halfway through the show, they're just tired. And then they kind of rip a couple drinks.
Especially if you have like too many openers.
Yeah, and luckily I didn't. I mean, I just had this host, Connor Mook. He was really funny. And then Mandy. So it was pretty like...
Oh, that's nice and tight, yeah.
Oh, it was very good. But halfway through, they were still in a winery drinking. It wasn't like this, like... They were attentive. I think when I got up there, luckily, they kind of focused more. But anyways...
Were they there for you or there for a comic?
Me.
I know, but like, did they... like? Because sometimes they buy headlining tickets, or do you think they were all your fans?
I mean, I think they were. It seemed after meeting everybody after the show.
That's awesome.
I'm sure there was. What I'm
probably
learning,
80% your fans.
What I'm learning is, you have your fans who then bring a friend who brings a friend.
Right.
It's always like there's generations of like like I know Matty through so and so.
Yeah, I follow him. This is my best friend and their roommate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so like I'm in the meet and greet. You meet the person that follows me, and then you meet the person that now likes me. Hopefully.
What do you do in the meet and greet?
I mean, I just stand out there. I fucked up and didn't bring merch.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to what we said earlier, where we think everybody's paying attention. Like everybody assumes the worst. Like they read the email and deleted it. But
yeah.
Anywho,
I said nope.
I think with all this shit, I mean, we're in a profession where it's like one day, any of you can literally just start comedy. You can just go to a bar, sign up at an open mic, and do it. So it's interesting. Like a thing that takes you to actively pursue it can one day become a thing where you're like, even like headlining, you're like, I looked at Manny. I'm like, what the hell are we doing here right now? Like, this is psychotic. And I'm like, fuck.
Like imposter syndrome?
Oh, 100%.
But you've been doing it, like, you've been kind of on an upward trajectory for as long as I've known you.
The person driving the bus doesn't see the upward trajectory.
You just see the daily grind?
It just looks like a road still.
Yeah.
So when you're doing these...
But then you'll look back at the end, look, every year, one of my favorite quotes is like, you underestimate what you'll achieve in 10 years and overestimate what you'll achieve in one.
Right.
So after 10 years, you look back and be like, look at all these things I've done.
No, it's great. I think...
you have a new apartment, you have a manager, where I'm doing your new podcast or the old podcast.
Old podcast. That's
old podcast in a new format.
New makeup.
New plants.
Same bitch, new makeup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going back to what I said earlier. I'm like, negative thoughts, chill. Don't worry about what other people are getting. Look at like making my headlining set better. Keep writing. Don't get caught up in X, Y, and Z. Those are like new ideas for videos. I'm like, just keep.
This is cool.
Keep filming just new ideas and just like put your head down the way I did, when it all started happening. And
I'd like to see you meditate. Do you meditate?
I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'd be you in meditation, like a Matty on meditation.
And then there's a voice in my head that goes, pussy.
That's your Connecticut.
No. I've done it, and then I just get so busy. And
I want to get back into it.
It's dude, when I have had some anxiety episodes, I've actually downloaded Headspace. I'm not even sponsored by them. And I did it, and I was like, you do learn that, and it's today I thought about it. Thoughts are like, you can acknowledge a thought. It's your decision if you want to acknowledge a thought or not. And I heard the Headspace guy, I don't know, the owner, he goes, a thought is like a cloud in the sky. I mean, you ignore all of them, but some you can like pay attention to more. So when you have like kind of negative thoughts or this and the other, it's like you literally, like when you meditate, you're just kind of like, they use counting. You acknowledge a thought and kind of just push it away. So that's what kind of...
I'm doing a better job at catching myself of things that annoy me and just like letting it go and be like, just really being like, all right, what's the point of being annoyed by this?
Yeah, I try to do
just
like...
let it go.
Exactly.
And like, there's no benefit. But sometimes you're like...
Oh, dude.
Grenade, we're going,
Bro, I have a temper. I told Mandy, I'm like, I have a temper. I like my temper because it's in my own cubicle. It like no one feels the wrath of it, thank God. But I'm like, I can flip out. I mean, literally right before you got here, I was just...
I kind of felt you were falling apart when you were texting me yesterday about the spot.
Luckily, no.
I was like, what is happening?
I think I was in between doing shit, but dude, my temper, you don't even
Not
know.
temper, but I was like, you're dealing with a lot or something. Like, what's going on here?
I did a question mark.
Hello? The question mark text is like, you're dead to me.
That's psychotic.
Yeah.
That was like AOL days. Remember AIM? Hit someone with a question mark. You're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I want to have a kid one day and be like, don't ever send a question mark. If you're going to learn from your father, no one likes that.
Yeah. Or the worst is the bubble question mark. That's not even an option.
Oh, dude. I mean, unless it's like me and Mandy or like I'm coming over, I'm at the grocery store, want me to pick something. Like I can see very few moments where it's like you're very interacting. Like, I'm going to see you in 3 minutes. Hey, I'm going here. Question mark. But at that point, just pick up the phone.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a reason to drop a question mark. Yeah. I think if you do, it's that's gonna come back and haunt you.
My good friend out here, and I love him, Don DePetta, always question mark guy.
Really?
Oh, dude, I'll hit him up and he'll give me like, he'll be like, hey, what's up? And I don't respond for like 20 minutes. He goes, hello. I'm like, yo, stop being a little bitch.
Yeah, I gotta get better at not responding to people right away when I'm like busy, because I'm like, I see a text and I just like instantly reply. I'm like, I'm not giving it the attention, or just like
I mean, somebody, if they haven't done so, a texting etiquette book needs to come out. That's a good coffee
Textiquette.
That's a good
Textiquette.
That's a good coffee table book. Just a leaf through it. I mean,
yeah.
Hey,
or in a waiting room. You're like at the doctor's office. Textiquette, a guide to not being an asshole.
I mean, there's a million.
That's a good idea.
A million pamphlets we can write. That's one thing we got good ideas. I think that was a great episode.
Yeah,
obviously you'll be back.
I enjoyed it.
Do you want to plug anything? I know you have your new podcast.
Yeah, follow at Techno Hollywood Pod. It's on my new podcast with Cheetan. And follow me at Latif Tayour. I'll spell it
We'll put it. I got graphics
you can
now.
do captions. Okay, Latif Tayour.
Mandy's ex-coworker gave us a bunch of Premiere like cool text, like you ever see like on podcasts where like the name
zooms in.
It's like more animated. So,
Yeah. So you don't have to use this. I use the stock ones for a couple times, but yeah.
Yeah, no, we got some cool stuff.
Boom.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, follow Latif. If you're still listening, Jesus Christ, you're a saint. And thank you, guys. All right, bye.
Yeah.